Hey guys, it is Dani'i and welcome to this update video on the tropics. And so in this video we're going to be talking about the activity that is currently taking place across the Atlantic as well as the Pacific basins. We have quite a lot going on, and so we're starting to see a bit of a surge in the tropics. And so before I go into details, okay, and so let us kickstart things with what is taking place across the Atlantic basin. So as you're seeing on the National Hurricane Center's 5-day outlook, we have 3 disturbances being in the Atlantic basin that we definitely have to pay attention to. And so the first one, which is our Invest 92L, is what is highlighted in orange. And so as you're seeing here, it is given a 50% chance to potentially develop into a tropical cyclone. And so actually guys, the chance is on the decline because it was at 70%, which meant that the chance was high, but because the environment is not very conducive, that chance is decreasing a bit, and now it is at 50%. So any development of the system will be probably about the midweek or so, where we could have a depression forming in that shaded orange region that you're seeing. And so the system is expected to move generally to the west or to the west northwest during the next couple of days. And so I would say if you're in sections of the Eastern Caribbean or potentially even the Bahamas, you want to pay attention to this because we don't know where the system is going to go or if it will even develop into a tropical cyclone. Only time will tell, but the chances for development are decreasing. So it is possible that we could not have a tropical cyclone coming from 92L, but regardless, we have to pay attention to it and see what happens over the next few days, because sometimes we do have tropical cyclones developing and surprising us. And so now let us move on to a disturbance that has been lingering in the Atlantic for quite a while. So the chance was at 20% for the system for several days, and now here we have it being decreased to 10%. There is just a very slight chance of us having tropical cyclone development from this area of low pressure now. So the system is going to be making its way across the Eastern Caribbean most likely, and even if it does not develop, if there is convection associated with the system, it is going to be spreading across portions of the Eastern Caribbean, resulting in some inclement weather conditions. So that is one thing to note if you're in the eastern section of the Caribbean. But again guys, the system is not even anticipated to really develop into anything because of unfavorable conditions that are probably going to be there that it will encounter. So we're going to be looking at the current conditions across the Atlantic basin very soon. And so now let us move on to this. This is a new disturbance that you're seeing that was identified just tonight. And so as of right now, this disturbance is given a 20% chance to develop during the next 5 days and a 10% chance through the next 48 hours. So this system here is going to be moving mainly westward, sort of following somewhat of the track that our previous disturbance that I just showed you is going along. So we really have to wait and see what the outcome is going to be. But fortunately with these systems, the chance for development is quite low. So that is the good news there. But regardless of that, there could still be some heavy rainfall associated with the systems if they're still in one piece, as they're going to be making their way across sections of the Caribbean. And so guys, in terms of Invest 92L, let us look at the model intensity guidance to see what is anticipated. So here we have it, and we have quite a bit of models available, but most are not expecting that this will develop. So just a few are expecting that it might achieve tropical storm status, and they're not showing it being a strong tropical storm either. So as I said, we have to wait and see what the eventual outcome is going to be for the system, but the formation chance is on the decline. But if we have a more favorable environment ahead of the system as it inches closer to the Caribbean region, that is when we would see somewhat of an increase in the formation potential. And so now let us look at the favorability across the region. And so first up, the ocean temperature map. So we're seeing here that we have a lot of warm ocean temperatures across the Gulf, the Caribbean, in the vicinity of the Bahamas, and just South Africa is not entirely favorable right now in terms of the ocean temperatures, but as we head westward, conditions are increasingly favorable to support any tropical cyclone development, because tropical cyclones are driven by heat and moisture. And so as I speak about moisture, let's talk about the Saharan dust. So the Saharan dust is really just dry air, and this is what inhibits tropical development. So this is what makes environmental conditions quite hostile for us to have any tropical cyclone development. And so as you're seeing those oranges going on to that red and pink shade, that is when we have a lot of dust. It's very dense in those regions, and it is almost impossible to have any sorts of convection developing. But when you're seeing that light orange and that yellow shade, that is when there isn't a whole lot extending across the region. And so in the vicinity of our disturbances, we do have them being below that pocket of dense Saharan dust, but they are going to be accelerating more into it. So that west to west northwestward like track is really going to be driving them into the Saharan dust, which is going to be helping to inhibit tropical development of the systems. And so now let's talk about the wind shear. So this is another significant factor when it comes on to our tropical cyclones developing. And so we're seeing here that the different colors here show different shear intensities. We have the green meaning favorable, the yellow being neutral, and the red being unfavorable. And so we have quite a bit of favorable shear extending across some sections, such as the Bahamas and off the southeastern coast of the US, in the Gulf of Mexico, in the North Caribbean, and even in some sections of the main development region. That is what is going to be helping our systems to develop. So if they're going to be moving into a region with little to no Saharan dust, favorable wind shear, and warm ocean temperatures, those are the perfect ingredients for us to have development. And where are we seeing those conditions? The Gulf of Mexico. So if we're going to be having any of these disturbances moving into the Gulf, that spells trouble, because countless times we have seen where systems move into the Gulf not being very strong, but over a 1 day or probably 12-hour period, we see some rapid intensification taking place. We've seen this a lot in the past. So we really have to wait and see what path those systems are going to be taking, but we have to pay attention to them. So now let's move on over into the Pacific Basin. So over in the Eastern Pacific, we do have two disturbances along with Jimena, which is a weakening tropical cyclone. So those two disturbances are located just off the southwestern coast of Mexico, and so we have that one highlighted in red, given a high 90% chance to develop into a tropical cyclone. And so it is possible that maybe by the midweek or so we could have some development taking place with the system. And then that other one that is highlighted in yellow is actually given a 30% chance, and you're not seeing the X because that low pressure area has not yet really developed. But when it does, we're going to see the X to show its location. And so in terms of Jimena, it is a depression expected to become post-tropical very soon. It has sustained winds of just 35 miles per hour, and it is accelerating to the west-northwest at 8 miles per hour. So not a whole lot going on for Jimena, and we're expecting it to dissipate maybe by sometime on Sunday. Fortunately, not going to be a threat to the Hawaiian archipelago. And so guys, that is really it for this update video. So we have our 3 systems in the Atlantic that we have to pay attention to, especially because we're going to be heading into the peak of the hurricane season. And if you found this to be quite informative, please give a thumbs up, and you can also share your thoughts in the comments or ask a question. I'll try to respond as best in as soon as I can. And just remember to always be weatherwise.